Hello and welcome to Idea TV Midday News. I am Cynthia Bassi. We begin with the headlines. Federal government confirms Nigerian embassies struggling with unpaid rent and salaries. Hundreds killed in Sudan's landslide amid civil war crisis. Stakeholders push for women's digital financial inclusion in Nigeria. And away from Africa, Afghan earthquake kills 800 as rescue operations intensify. In business, federal government and Total Energies signed production sharing contracts for offshore blocks. And in sport, Nigeria fall to Namibia in Women's Cricket World Cup qualifier. And now the news in full. The federal government has confirmed that several Nigerian embassies and consulates abroad are struggling with unpaid rent, salary arrears for local staff, and other financial obligations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said years of budget shortfalls and the country's broader economic situation have left missions unable to meet basic commitments. A statement by ministry spokesperson Kemiabi Imomitimi Ebiefa explains that the Tinubu administration has released special intervention funds to cushion the hardship, with over 80% of available funds already cleared for salaries, service providers, and allowances. The ministry also acknowledged that recent exchange rates harmonization wasn't funding gaps, but said refunds are now being processed to affected missions. Beyond immediate relief, government officials said a sustainable financial model is being developed to stabilize Nigeria's diplomatic missions in the long term. They assured Nigerians abroad and host countries that the welfare of staff and smooth operations of embassies remain a priority, describing the present challenges as temporary. Moving on, at least 370 people have been confirmed dead after a massive landslide struck the remote Mara Mountains in western Sudan, according to the United Nations. The Sudan Liberation Movement Army, which controls the affected area, claimed the death toll could be as high as 1,000, with only one known survivor after heavy rains triggered the disaster on Sunday. The village of Tarasin was said to have been leveled, with urgent appeals made for international humanitarian aid. The UN's Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator for Sudan, Antoine Girard, warned that reaching the site will be extremely difficult due to the rainy season, poor road networks, and the absence of helicopters. He explained that delivering relief materials could take days, leaving survivors vulnerable in an already fragile humanitarian situation. The force governor, Mini Minawi, described the landslide as a humanitarian tragedy and called on global aid agencies to urgently intervene. The disaster comes as Sudan remains gripped by a civil war that erupted in April 2023 between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The conflict has displaced over 12 million people, caused famine, and left up to 150,000 dead, according to U.S. estimates. Darfur has been one of the hardest hit regions, with allegations of genocide and ethnic cleansing. The landslide adds to the suffering of communities already torn apart by war and displacement. In other news, Women's World Banking, in partnership with the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion, has hosted a high-level workshop on women's digital financial inclusion in Abuja. The event focused on unlocking women's full economic potential as part of Nigeria's drive to achieve a $1 trillion economy. The meeting brought together major stakeholders from the public and private sectors, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, NIBSS, NICOM, the Bank of Industry, fintechs, and microfinance institutions. Discussions centered on closing the 9% gender gap in access to financial services and reaching the government's 95% financial inclusion target. Experts at the workshop stressed that empowering women financially is crucial to inclusive growth, poverty reduction, and long-term stability. Women's World Banking emphasized Nigeria's potential to lead Africa in gender-focused financial policies, pledging to continue supporting initiatives that give women greater access to credit, payments, and digital tools. An hour away from Africa, rescue teams in Afghanistan are racing against time after a powerful magnitude 6.0 earthquake struck eastern provinces near the Pakistan border, killing at least 800 people and injuring 1,800 others. Many victims remain trapped beneath rubble in remote mountain villages, where landslides and blocked roads, have made access extremely difficult. Helicopters have been deployed for aerial searches, with more than 90 flights conducted to evacuate survivors from Kuna province. Hospitals in Jalalabad are overwhelmed as families recount harrowing stories of digging loved ones out of collapsed homes. The Taliban government has appealed to urgent international aid, while the United Nations and countries including the UK, India, China, and Switzerland have pledged emergency relief. The disaster comes as Afghanistan battles severe drought, hunger, and a major cut in foreign aid, deepening the country's humanitarian crisis. Relief agencies warn that survivors urgently need food, shelter, and medical supplies, with the UN describing the quake as one of the worst to hit Afghanistan in recent years. We'll go on a quick break now. The news continues when we return. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Idea TV Midday News. Now the rest of the news. In business news, the federal government has signed a landmark production sharing contract with Total Energies and South Atlantic Petroleum for petroleum prospecting licenses 2000 and 2001, located in the Niger Delta Basin. The deal, facilitated by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commissions, follows the 2024 licensing rounds and covers about 2,000 square meters. Total Energies will operate with an 80% stake, while Sapetro holds the remaining 20%. Speaking at the signing in Abuja, NUPRC Chief Executive Benga Komolafe described the agreement as a new chapter for Nigeria's oil and gas sector. He highlighted the fiscal package, which includes a $10 million signature bonus and production-linked incentives, alongside reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu to attract fresh investments. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited also emphasized the contract's uniqueness, noting it is the first deepwater deal under the Petroleum Industry Act to comprehensively cover both crude oil and natural gas. Total Energies country chairperson Mathieu Boyer reaffirmed the company's long-term commitment to Nigeria, where it has operated for over 60 years. He said the consortium will leverage expertise to deliver low-cost, low-emission developments that boost reserves, strengthen energy security, and support Nigeria's target of producing 3 million barrels per day. The agreement is expected to drive new exploration, create jobs, and position Nigeria as Africa's leading upstream investment destination. And lastly, in sport news, Nigeria's female yellow-green suffered a setback in their ICC Women's T20 World Cup Africa Division 1 qualifier campaign, falling to an 8-wicket defeat against host Namibia in Windhoek. This comes after Nigeria had opened the tournament with an emphatic 96-run win over Sierra Leone on Sunday. Batting first on Monday, Nigeria managed only 70 runs in 18.4 overs, with Salome Sunday 22, Oseyonde Omokobe 14, and Kende Musa 12 contributing modestly. Namibia's bowlers dominated, led by Samia Taheduleni, who took 3 wickets for 13 runs, while Kelleen Green and Mikalanye Mwatile picked up 2 wickets each. Namibia comfortably chased the target, finishing 71 for 2 in just 9.5 overs, powered by Yasmin Khan's blistering 51 over 30 balls. Despite the loss, Nigeria remains second in their group with 2 points, trailing leader Zimbabwe, who have won both of their opening matches. The Yellow Greens will face Zimbabwe on Wednesday in what could be the group decider, with the top 2 teams advancing to the semi-finals and finally securing Africa's 2 slots at the global qualifiers later this year. And that's all we have for you on Idea TV Midday News. But before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. We brought to you news that the federal government confirms Nigeria embassy struggling with unpaid rent and salaries. We also brought to you news that hundreds killed in Sudan landslide amid civil war crisis. Stakeholders push for women's digital financial inclusion in Nigeria and away from Africa. Afghanistan earthquake kills 800 as rescue operations intensify. And in business, federal government and Total Energies sign production sharing contract for offshore blocks. And lastly, in sports, Nigeria fall to Namibia in Women's Cricket World Cup qualifier. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Cynthia Bassi. Thank you for watching.